Hi, my name is Les Among. I'm with the Waikiki Neighborhood Board. And I remember when I first testified on the rail, I was with Dr. Privadoris at the City Council chambers. Nice to see you again. You know, I got a different spin on this rail thing, and I think you might find possibly fascinating and maybe a little disturbing. Our panel has great ideas about the functions of the rail and about steel on steel and all that stuff. But I truly, truly believe, after what I've studied from a good friend of mine in Texas, that this rail was something more deeper than what we're really seeing. And let me begin by telling you, it all started, my friend told me about a proposed Texas corridor, Trans-Texas Corridor, superhighway that was coming through Texas en route in the middle of the United States to Canada. And it would be controlled by a foreign entity, and would be a toll would be put on the corridor, the major economic corridor of this super highway, of what they call it. And he told me that this is similar to what's happening with the rail. And I can't tell you, seriously, as a neighborhood board member, when he brought this to my attention, it literally knocked me over. And then I really went into deep research about what this is really all about. And I'm truly convinced that the rail, the whole smokescreen of it is about moving students to UH and getting people to think about traffic. But the zoning and the property along the most economical corridor of the 50th state, probably the most valuable land in Hawaii, economically, leaves open for investments, for all kinds of, you could have condominiums, timeshares, supermarket lease. They're going to have leases, as the gentleman said before me, of different open spaces to lease, some of which probably working with the zoning, depending on how, whatever zoning is, there's different subdivisions of the city and county, but it leaves it open to, once again, in my district, the outside investors that would come in and really take charge of this, what I call sovereign land and the sovereign property of Hawaii, all that makes us what we are, the most economical power source of our state is what this land, if you ever looked at the map of the corridor, where it leads right down the economical core of the state, the multi-million-dollar core of the state. Foreign investors could come in, as they said about the Trans-Texas Corridor, superhighway. They could lease property. They could charge tolls. And international trade laws might even come in and disregard constitutional freedoms and sovereign freedoms of the citizens of the United States. I know it sounds far-fetched. I didn't believe it myself at all until I talked to people from Texas. That I have a website called fedjournal.com. I've been doing a lot of investigating on this. And it was fascinating, to say the least, of the concerns of the people in the state of Texas, what they were talking about, this corridor, and the way the power super broker bankers, some of which are international with the IMF and the foreign investments, would come in and buy what happened in my district, that, like, let's say, you know, outside investors like the Edition Hotel, that's, I'm sure you read in the newspaper, having problems with the unions, and there's some legality things going on and disagreements. But the picture of a foreign entity or foreign power broker bankers or people who'd want to lease and buy property along the route that would regulate around the corridor of the but of the rail corridor line that would run from the west side into the east corridor. This is something serious to really think about. Who would control that? How would they regulate it? Who would have the power of $200 or $500 million to come in and build a super condo timeshare unit like in my district of Waikiki, and then have the regulative powers to say what goes on so many feet around them?
You've made a good point. Let's have our panel address this if we can.
I have a different spin. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
What do you think of that? He brought up something I don't think anyone's really touched upon. Is that Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation, HART, is going to have the domain and jurisdiction of the rail, of the physical rail itself. But he's brought into light the fact that this corridor is an economic engine. Can someone respond to that? Who's going to be able to play in on the so-called corridor that he's just mentioned? Does anybody want to chime in on that?
Well, for starters, he's basically correct that every major roadway or transit infrastructure project creates a major land use shift. In this corridor now, the situation is that most of it is allocated. I mean, the owners are there. So I don't think that there's going to be a dramatic exchange of hands, except for what Dr. Keone Dudley mentioned, which is a huge case of a development in Ho'opili, 12,000 to 15,000 homes. And in general, when it comes to rail transportation, the thing that comes along with it is TOD, transit-oriented development. The key word is de-development. So that has significant land use and economic implications. And it's a little different than the Texas Transportation Corridor because there was a lot of prime land there that, could have been reapportioned.
I know they were both totally different, but some similarities that the people were bringing up to me, I didn't even know about the Texas Trans Corridor. I really did. I advise everybody to check that out. It was really something, a fascinating story. But Doctor, you're right. This is a major concern with me. I'd like to have people always keep their eye on what's happening, who's going to be controlling the zoning and the land use along the way. Because whoever owns the power core of this corridor will be running the show, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't think we're ready in Hawaii to give, the power to other entities that possibly might not even live in Hawaii, like in my district of Waikiki. So I ask you to please keep an eye on that. Thank you so much for your time.
Just one more comment on his questions there. When the Aloha Skyway project was formulated, Don Beach was one of the members of our committee. And I don't know if you've heard of him as Don the Beachcomber, I guess. But he was the one who created the International Marketplace, among other places. And so we had a real vision as part of our team. And I think that what we've really missing at this point is we should be getting Disney involved in helping to plan the future of this project because it can be a moneymaker. And as the real estate broker portion of that team, there's all sorts of leasing possibilities and each one of the stations to make money from each one of those vendors who you lease it to. We should be having the project pay for itself, both with the tourist money and with the real estate money that can be made at the investment at the different train sites.